Hello, everyone, and welcome to our fourth session on our description of where we are. In previous sessions, we spoke about the material universe and its etheric counterpart, and the multidimensional psychic and noetical worlds of higher dimensions. And in this class, we will discover the vast, lofty, and seldom described higher levels of what we call reality. We will trace the first cause of everything from its unmanifested state into manifestation and extending as expressions into the created worlds of existence. Imagine, if you will, an absolute dynamic stillness, a vast unordered realmlessness. Imagine, if you will, an absolute dynamic stillness as a vastness of unordered realmlessness. It is beyond name and form. But to give it a name is important to some, for out of it everything will come. So in order to point to this, we will call it the beingness. Beingness is unknowable and unmanifested, yet it is destined to manifest as all that is, was, and will ever be, which is the absolute infinite reality, that absolute infinite selfhood we call God. Beingness makes its first appearance as a trinity of love, wisdom, and power, which are the three absolute natures of life itself. Upon its appearance, its manifestation, beingness is now called the absolute infinite beingness. No words from any earth language are strong enough to give us meaning about this absolute authority. We can use words like magnificent, marvelous. We can say it's motion, but with nothing moving. It's vibration with nothing vibrating. All of the above is true, yet that truth does not give us much meaning. The state of beingness is that of the eternal now. But how can we comprehend the non-dual state of the eternal now from our position of only knowing the temporal worlds of duality? This absolute infinite state called beingness is not the everlasting light, but the everlasting light, which is colorless at this level, emanates from this state of beingness as the formless supersubstance of the mind from which everything created will be made. Eastern spiritual systems call this the akasha. This akasha is the highest level of light, and one of the qualities of all light is its imprinting nature. Material light is the lowest level of light, and as it falls on an object, it imprints a microscopic image of that thing, which gets transferred to our material eyes, and we say we see. What are we seeing? What we are seeing is due to the imprinted nature of all light. At the highest level of light, something similar like this happens, but it's even more remarkable. This light, invisible to the human eye, is everywhere, all the time. So literally, everything from the smallest to the largest that happens in our dimension or any of the higher dimensions gets immediately and perfectly imprinted on this akashic light. But not two-dimensionally like a video, more like a multi-dimensional hologram. This is why they call it the Akashic Records, because everything on Earth, in our solar system, in our galaxies, in all the galaxies, and all the three-dimensional and fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh dimensional counterparts gets perfectly imprinted on it and preserved for all time. This means that those precious few who have been able to raise their conscious high enough to access this level can see everything that has ever happened anywhere. Seeing what is recording there is not like watching a movie playing on a screen. The observer of this recording is observing everything from within the recording itself. It's hard to describe, but that's how it is. And the observer must be able to rewind this recording to see past events with their highly concentrated will. But still, it's only a recording, but a living recording, which means you cannot change or affect one iota of what's recorded. This divine state is called the absolute infinite beingness because it's comprised of an infinite number of eternal beings, all similar to each other and all similar to God itself. These beings are in a state of absolute oneness with God, yet they do not realize themselves as different from God. Yet some of them are about to embark on an incredible journey to realize this difference. It is an exceedingly long, hard journey across time, place, and space. The destination of their journey will be exactly from where they started, God. The journey is allegorically referred to as the journey of the prodigal son. The prodigal son leaves his father's perfect kingdom and travels to a faraway country. This is earth. But the elder brother does not go on this journey. The elder brother is all the archangelic orders that never leave the oneness of God. The younger brother, the prodigal son, are all the human beings who have willingly chose to make this voyage of discovery, incarnating in the worlds of existence again and again until reaching perfection. It's an incarnational journey on a material planet from caveman to man-God. The end of humanity's journey will be the completion of their first and second rounds of incarnation. How many incarnations it takes cannot be numbered, and the time it will take cannot be mentioned, because the first gift given by God to all these eternal beings is free will, and their free will comes to determine the number of incarnations that will be required and the time it takes to complete both the first round and the second round of incarnation. And there are an incredible number of individual incarnations in each of these two different rounds or cycles of incarnations. However, upon the successful completion of this journey, they will return self-realized beings and enter the state some call God realization or theosis. Now they will be in absolute oneness with God, but still retain their sense of individual selfhood. They will have realized God, and they will have realized their own self. At this level, it's called spirit self-realization. And yet the end of this exceedingly long journey is only the beginning of another journey. Now they can and will express themselves again in a third round of incarnations, but in an exceptionally higher degree than the first and the second rounds of incarnations could have ever imagined. In the first round of incarnations, they must learn to joyously partake in the sorrows in their life in order to have the necessary experiences that leads them to their own self-realization. Immediately afterwards, they will willingly and joyously partake in the sorrows of other people's life to help all reach their self-realization. Then their continued material incarnations and incarnations of these self-realized ones will take on an exceedingly vast and broad scope, as their service to guide and help awaken others extends far beyond the reach of their home planet. Finishing the first round of material incarnations, they are sent forth in small groups for another round of material incarnations, far beyond their original home planet. It is in this round that we might say the heavy lifting takes place, the hard work takes place, as they not only guide and help awaken those on the newly incarnated planets, but they also help uplift a portion of those people's karmic burdens. The self-realized ones do this work too, toward the end of the first round of their incarnation. They can do it because they've already paid off their own karma, and now are free to lift the negative karmic burdens of others. Karma is a law. It's the universal law of cause and effect, the law of what you sow, so shall you reap. When anyone transgresses this law, it creates an imbalance, and the universe is strictly governed by the law of balance and order. Thus, the balance must be restored to any transgression of the law of cause and effect. This balance is typically restored by suffering some pain either physically, emotionally, and or mentally, in the exact proportion to the cause of the imbalance. This is not happening as a punishment from God, but is delivered as a consequence of our own actions to wake us up so as not to continue to cause transgressions of the laws forever. It's just like the physical law of gravity. If we transgress it by stepping off the roof of a building, we're going to get an immediate consequence of falling to the ground. Maybe we should call that instant karma. This, again, is not a punishment from God because we violated the law of gravity. It's a consequence and nothing more. It does no good to blame God for the law of gravity or to ask that it be suspended for you. What is good is to learn what the laws are and not go against them. So too for the universal laws that sometimes bring us painful consequences. Now everyone is carrying some negative karmic burdens. Some are noticeably light. Some are incredibly heavy. And what the self-realized do is to take on the karmic debts of others and carry their portion of it for them. This is a much more serious work than guiding others, because one's karmic debt is created and must be paid off by someone. This is the work of the self-realized. And here's how it works. Firstly, God is carrying 90% of the karmic burden of everyone. Why not 100%? Because if it was 100% was taken from the person, they would not learn or grow. They would not recognize that in violating universal laws, they are receiving back negative karmic consequences. And they would just be caught in an endless repetitive cycle, and thus never reach higher levels of consciousness. This is not the divine plan, which calls for the return of the prodigal son to his home fully self-conscious. Secondly, the self-realized are allowed to take as much as 10% of the karma of others. Now remember, the others are only carrying 10% of their own karma. So the self-realized will take only 1% of that person's original karma. But then again, according to the law, God immediately takes 90% of that 1% lifted by the self-realized. Thus, in fact, the self-realized only take 0.1% of that person's original karma. And the self-realized know how to burn the karma in other ways than just suffering through it blindly. And they do this for many. Now, it would be a great mistake to think that they do this with the sense that they are sacrificing themselves for others. It's not done with the sense of sacrifice. That would just be egoism in disguise. They do this service as loving mercy for the suffering of other people. The self-realized do not look upon others as separate from themselves. They see the others as themselves. They see others not as developed as themselves, compassionately, because in the distant past, they were once where those people are now. These are the brothers and sisters of mercy, or bodhisattvas, as they call them in the East. When the second round of incarnation is complete, the human beings become theosized, which means they've reached their individual divine nature, perfection and one-ment with God. Still, this is not the end. They don't stay in this state, for they prefer to continue serving the divine plan and return to the creative worlds of existence in the third round of incarnations. However, these incarnations are exceedingly more magnificent than the first two rounds. Not much can be said about the third round of incarnations as a planetary, solar, or galactic logi. Yet some hints were given in a Stoa lesson, May 1992, when Dasclos pointed out that Christ's parable of dinars was referring to this round incarnation. In the Bibles today, the word dinars has been replaced with the word talents, both of which were the Roman Empire's currency. They were silver coins. In the more modern version, talents have been changed to bags of gold. Whatever you call them, the point is they are of value and they symbolically represent our bodies. Dasclos confidently declared, the God-man Joshua Emmanuel the Christ gave us the truth in parables. He said there was a master. He called his servants and gave one of them 1 dinar, to the other 2 dinars, and he went away. That means he left those workers to do whatever they wanted to to use those dinars. Dascalos clarified and then said, in due time the master came back and asked them, what have you done? The one with the 1 dinar said, I knew you were a cunning master. You wanted us to work for you. You gave me 1 dinar. I've hid it in the earth. Here it is. Have it back. Dascalos pointed out that that dinar meant the servant's life in the material world, in a material body. Since you are so cunning, the master said, go back to the prison. Again, Dascalos explained the meaning of this is that the prison meant the material body in an earthly life again, so to learn how to use it properly. Dascalos further carried on with the parable, saying, the other servant with 2 dinars said, Master, you gave me 2 dinars. Here are 4. I made them 4. The master said, well done. The 2 dinars are the material body and the psychical body. He made them into 4, which means he developed his noetical body and the noetical principle, working on them. Dascalos noted and then continued saying, of course, this goes on, and in the parable of Joshua, the Christ God-man says, the one whom I gave 2 dinars, who made them 4, I appoint as governor of 4 cities. Was Joshua the Christ saying nonsense? Dascalos asked rhetorically. And now, what is the difference between a dinar coin and a whole city? One servant made the 2 into 4 dinars and was appointed the governor of 4 cities. Look into the sky. There are so many stars and so much glory, and all those need governors. You must be the master of your material body, your psychical body, and become the master of the cities. So there's our destiny. Our destiny is God's, and not just to live like animals in a human body. Eat, make sex, quarrel, fight, sleep, and wake up. What we are saying here is reality is a much vaster expanse than anyone has ever told us or could tell us. What we are is exceedingly greater than what we could have imagined. We have a long way to go, but we do have eternity. So we see in this session 3 states of reality. One is the unmanifested, the beingness. The other is the manifested, the beingness. And the third one is what we call the worlds of existence, the created worlds of existence. And anything in this state that's been created, of course, has an end. It has a beginning and has an end. So these are the 3 states of reality that we must become familiar with. In our next session, we're going to look into who and what we are. Now, these are 2 different things. And the first session in this class is about the event of human beings. Cancel. And the first session, we're going to talk about the advent of human beings on Earth. In that class, you will travel across time and space back to mankind's first arrival on the planet and follow his development over vast amounts of time. You will discover how man's material body is but a vehicle for the soul during his long, multi-incarnational journeys on this temporary home, Earth. This class will also provide a solid understanding of the etheric double, the energy component of our material body, and most importantly, how to use it. See you next time.